Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today, I know I've got lots of projects on, and I should really be getting a video out about Mildred's ashtray, how I'm getting on with that, but I thought, I just can't help myself here. We've got the Olivetti M250, and I want to see whether there's any hope for this computer or not really. So what I've done, I've pulled the power supply unit out, because this computer basically it is so rusty and manky inside. I wouldn't even consider just plugging it in and switching on and seeing what happens. I don't think that would be a good idea. I mean, there's a chance that whoever I bought it off has already tried doing that, but hopefully the amount of rust on this thing perhaps put them off trying to just put some power up it. It was sold as seen untested, but all that on the back there, can you see how it's all brown there? I was commenting about nicotine. Now, I mean, there might be a bit because the plastic's slightly yellow, but that's just corrosion. It's actually, the power supply is probably one of the better parts inside there. There is a lot of rust in this computer. I honestly do believe it's even been kept like in a very damp basement, or at some point it has been flooded. The top section here, I had it upside down, the top section here actually isn't too bad. There's just a few little bits of surface just poking through. We can actually deal with the rust. The rust's not going to kill this project. It's just there is a lot of it. Don't know whether it's actually coming out on camera, but all the grill slots here are rusty on it. So I'm not going to even consider attempt to power it up in this state. So what I thought we'd do in this video is we'll get the computer out of the way. Ooh, and that's heavy enough as it is, even without the power supply in it. And I thought what we'd do in this video is we'd have a look at the power supply, open it up, check it out, and then very tentatively power it up, and hopefully see if we've got some sensible voltages coming out of the the 5 and the 12 and the main power connectors there. Once we're happy that this thing's actually reasonably well working, we can take a look at the motherboard and perhaps give the motherboard a clean up. Get rid of them batteries on it, get rid of the worst of the surface corrosion we can see, and then we might be in a position where we can actually see whether this computer is going to do anything. I don't know how far along with the project I'm going to go at that point at the moment, because I've got other projects I really want to get finished before I get in really deep into it. But I'd like to just see whether there's any hope in it actually living again, this computer. So first things first, let's crack on with the power supply and see what state the actual power supply is in. I've got a couple of screwdrivers here, that one should do. Quick disclaimer, obviously we're working on something which just get plugged into the mains. There is a risk with these things. Don't mess with these things unless you know what you're messing with, basically. Don't go sticking your fingers in one of these things powered up. And also bear in mind that these can potentially store a charge in them, and still give you a belt after they've been unplugged. But I've been working on these things for many years now. I do have some amount of experience with them. Now, how do you get in this one? Right, that might just be an earth, but we'll see. It might just, because it's got an earth symbol there, but it might also be to get the case. Oh, nut falling out there. They seem to like their clips, Olivetti. There was, once you've actually taken one thumb screw out, which is basically what takes the drives out of the computer, the power supply literally just lifts out on some slots. So Yeah, in one thing, they did make it so serviceability wasn't too bad. You didn't need loads of tools. Ah, there we go. To access anything. Right, let's get the lid off and we can have a quick peek inside the inside here. Well, apart from, as I said, the huge amounts of rust, the fan's not seized or anything. It doesn't look horrendous in there. It doesn't look. I can't see anything burnt. Just bring you up to have a look. There's nothing burnt. Quick smell test. I can't smell any. Ugh, it just smells musty. I can't see anything in there that looks, terrible. I can't see any burnt out resistors. I can't see anything really black. I can't see anything blackened. There's a bit of discoloration on the board. I can't see any caps which are obviously swollen, but that's not really anything you can say. What I will do is I'll power my old iron up, and we'll have a bit of a smell test around the board in a minute. That's the power switch there. The power switch on these is, again, it's an Olivetti. Everything done slightly unusually. You've got a steel cable that runs through to the main switch on the front of the case, and basically it operates like a rocker like that. Now I think that's in the off position the way it is there, and obviously on, off. We'll find that out in a second anyway. Where have I put? There it is. Just grab the digital meter and we'll do some basic checks before anything else. So I'll switch that on. We've got it on continuity. So, and I've just spotted in there we do have a fuse just coming in. So we'll check the incoming fuse, make sure that's okay. Indeed it is, and we should hopefully be able to check the switch and at least see which position the switch is in. So if I put my one of my probes on that fuse and I go on to which is the live connection on the live is the top one there. I can't hear anything, no continuity buzz. I'll flick the switch over. Yeah, so we know that position's off, and we also seem to know that the switch is, at least the live half of the switch, because it's a double pole switch, is operational, that's functioning. I wonder if we should pop the board out of here and just have a really good look round it. Like I say, I've got the iron heated up, so we can run the iron over the board and have a bit of a quick smell test. It's just a really quick way of seeing do we have any leaking passages or not, or at least caps that have started to leak. I'm not planning to recap this at the moment unless I see anything that obviously is screaming it needs a recap. In the future, like I say, if we do go on with this project and I do rebuild the computer, I probably would recap the power supply. Let's see if we can ease this. Come out you come. See, most manufacturers use little grommets for things like that. These have just put some kind of like heat shrink over the cable and jammed it into a hole in the side of the case. Olivetti and doing things a little bit differently. Ah, that one's easy. We can unplug the fan. The fan doesn't look bad. The fan's not. I don't think the fan's terribly noisy. I can't hear the bearings clicking away in it anyway. Disconnect that there, and this isn't too bad. It's actually quite easy to disassemble. We'll take the mains power connector off there, and we should be able to take the board straight out now. Let's see how many screws are holding the board in. One, by the look of it. And another reason why I want to take this board is that I want to see how much rust is underneath the board. Because rust is a bit crystalline and it grows up, there is a potential it could possibly short something on the bottom of the PCB, hopefully. There's an insulating layer under there to prevent that, but you can never be 100% sure. Right, what else is holding it now? Seems to be something else holding it. I can't see it. Ah! There's a screw hiding away down there. Also, when we get this board out, I'd like to see if we can find out who makes it. I wonder if it's an Aztec. It's got a slight Aztec-y look about it. It mightn't be, but it does have that slight Aztec-y look. There we go. Yeah, there is an insulating layer underneath, so good on them for that. With a few suspect joints I can see under there. There's a few joints on there that I might see if you can see that. There's a few joints around that choke and around there that certainly look a little bit on the iffy side. I think I'll probably just for peace of mind just quickly go over them. See if I can find a little brush. Ah, there's my little brush. And we'll give the board a quick brush down. And I can see a few joints on the bottom of there that look a little on the suspect side. Around, let me zoom you in. Oops. Around here. A few joints around there that look a little bit iffy. There's a couple around here that look a little bit iffy. So I may just go over a few of these on the board before I do anything else really. Just using this brush just to get... there's a fair bit of dust in here, but like I say, it doesn't look terrible. If you look over the whole board, there's nowhere where the board's gone dark where there's been a component like really overheating or anything. But look on the other side. It doesn't look bad. Can't see any blackening on that switching transistor there. Just a little bit dusty, but that's all. Is there any idea who made this thing? Can't see a Aztec usually stick Aztec right on, but it does have that sort of Aztec-y look about it. No, can't see any branding on it. I don't think there is on the case either. No. No, there's nothing on it to say who made it. Perhaps it's Olivetti in-house, I'm not sure. Get the camera down a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally just having a bit of a de-dust before I have a bit of a squiz over the board. It's not as bad as I was expecting actually. It's not terrible. The workbench quick blow off because that's all the crud that's come out of it. I'll give it a proper wipe down later. Right. Transformer there. Again, it's just full of dust and crud, and that's right. Yeah, that's right next to the fan, so that's going to get it from the fan. That's interesting. So it's a selectable PSU as well. You can select between a 220 volt or 110 volt by just moving a little jumper across here. I've never seen it done like that before. I've seen it where there's been a solderable link or something that you swap over. This has literally got a little jumper block. I'll show you that. I don't think I've ever seen that on a power supply before. You can see in here, you see that little block there. To swap between 110 and 220, you literally just swap that little wire link on there over. I've not come across that that way of switching it between 110 and 220. And notice it's 220 as well, rather than 240. But then again, it's Italian. You know, this is the thing. The rest of Europe, they reckon, you know, it's meant to have the same voltage as Europe, but up until all the EU, Britain always was around 240, 250, is where EU was 220. And when we homogenised for the EU, all they did was mess about with the tolerances. So Europe's still 220 and we're still 240, but officially we're all 230. But yeah, I won't go into that. It's actually reasonably surprised me. This, as I said, I was expecting it to be in far grottier condition, looking at the rest of the computer, but no, it's not. It's not too bad. What I'm going to do, just as a quick thing, I've got my iron heated up here, and I'm just going to run it near the electrolytics. And just have a quick smell. And just see if I can smell that horrible fishy smell you get with electrolyte. Nope, there's nothing on them ones. I'll try over here. It's just a really down and dirty way to see whether you've got any leaky electrolytic capacitors. Because you all know that fishy smell from a leaking electrolytic, and if you just warm round them with a soldering iron, you release the stench, and you can smell it straight away. And then you obviously know that you've got leaking capacitors. Well, physically leaking rather than electrically leaking, anyway. Now these are the main smooths. I very much doubt these will be. Nope, no nasty smells so far. Let's try around here. I mean, this isn't testing them for ESR or capacitance or anything like that. It's just seeing whether we've actually got any that are physically leaking, which would be a telltale sign that, you know, we have got issues on the board. There's only one I can't actually get to because I'd risk doing some damage, which is that one there. But no, I've not got any nasty smells, so for the moment I'm just going to put that to one side, and I'm just going to have a quick look at the fan and the switch and everything in here. I'll try taking that bit of insulation out and see how bad the corrosion is underneath it. Hopefully I can get it out without breaking it. Let's get a scope multimeter probe under it. If I can get it out, which is not being as easy as there we are. Oh, that's a pleasant surprise. It's not actually rusty under there. If you compare that with the top there, that's not bad. I suppose we better whip that fan out while we're in here, and get you up a bit. We better whip that fan out while we're in here, and we can just at least clean the dust off it and clean round there. Have I got one of my little? Yeah, I have. Oh, that's a bronze one. I might just clean it, see if I can clean a little bit of this crud off the metalwork while we get the fan out. Just. Oh, it's not even held in with screws, it's held in with like little... Oh, the rubber. You just pull it. Oh, this is going to be horrible. The fan's held in on like rubber mounts. And I'm pretty certain as soon as I pull them, they'll just break. I think what we're going to do is we're going to clean it with it in situ, just get the worst of the dust off it, and for now we'll leave it at that. What I can always do in the future is I'd have to make some rubber bushes and then use nuts and bolts and a little rubber bush if I wanted to replace what's there. For now we'll just get the worst of the dust out of it. It is pretty dusty. Let's give that a quick blowout. That's better already, and we'll give the back, we'll just give it a quick, I think that you can, with that angle, I think you can see quite how rusty that is. All the chrome plating's come off. We'll just give it the best we can with that brush. Well, it's got the absolute worst of the corrosion off it, that. It looks a little bit better. Covering my desk in crud. Yeah, it's going to need some serious work, this. But that's not horrendous, that's passable for now. Get a little bit of tissue paper. I'll give that a wipe down, just get the worst of the muck off it. There we are. Doesn't have to be perfect, I just don't want to get completely covered in muck every time I touch it. Right, we'll put that back in. Some little clips on that side that has to sit under. There we go. Something there, what's that under there now? Oh no, it sits on that. There we go, that's in. I think, yeah, now that's in. So that's all reassembled. We will put the actual board back in its case. I'm not going to close the case up. I'm just going to put it back in here, just so it makes it easy to connect it to its power, to be fair. And then we'll give it a go at actually powering this thing, powering it up and see what we've got coming out. In fact, I might have to get an old hard drive or something, because a lot of these power supplies don't like running without certain, I think like the 5 volts line with at least some load on it. I think I've got an old hard drive that's no good, that'll at least spin up, that we can use as a dummy load. There we go. So that's back in there. We'll screw that back. We'll screw that back down. And I think we'll put that earth connection that I took off the side when we was trying to get in it back on, because there was no need to actually take that off. No, there really wasn't any need to take that off. It didn't help us get the board out or anything. Drop these screws back in. That's that one. And the other one's going to be the tricky bugger. Yeah, the other one is going to be a bit tricky. It's right down between all the wiring here. There. I dropped it at the last second. This is going to be one of these horrible ones that takes me 10 minutes just to put one screw back in. Tell you what, I'll just pause the video because I need to go and see if I can dig out that scrap hard drive anyway. So I'll just pause the video while I put this screw back in and go and find that hard drive. So back in a sec. Okay, we're back, and I've got an old hard drive, and I've got an IEC lead. So we'll zoom you out a little bit, I think. Right, what I'm going to do, we'll plug in the power, because it's switched off there, but we'll plug in. There we we go, we're in. We'll plug that in. Probably not the... Oh no, it fits alright. Right, so we'll have that way round like that. Suppose we can put that back where it came from. Yeah, we're off, we're alright. There we are. Right, and that will come out from there. Well, that's easier for us to get to anyway, because we want to do some probing on them pins. I've got a ground there, yeah, because I want to see what voltage we've got coming out of there. Right, yeah, we're reasonably safe there. We'll connect up the tester. Let's set that up. Let's set it onto the 20 volt scale. So no, that's milliamp scale. 20 volt scale. And we'll connect it. I think that should be the 5 volts line. So that goes into ground. Uses non-standard colour codes. This Olivetti, which is fun of them. Then we'll plug that one into there. Okay, so switch the meter on. I've not got any real load connected to it. I've just got the meter connected to it for the moment. What we'll do is we'll switch it on at the power supply there, and then I'll use the switch on the wall to actually power it up, and we'll see if we get a big flash or a bang, or we actually get something meaningful from it. So as you can see, I'm not touching anything there. I've got the meter already connected to it. I've even got one hand behind my back, and I'm just going to literally switch on, and we'll see whether we get anything coming from the power supply apart from a big flash and a bang. So contact. And all I got from the power supply then was a tick, 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 tick. Now that could indicate that, and we did see some voltage climb up on the on there. I don't know, should I use this really old hard drive, or should I use something? I might. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Where's the other one that I had? There it is. I might use that one instead actually. We'll connect a load up to it, and we'll try and switch it on again and see whether we get anything else. But we may have a fault to diagnose. Right. Let's try again. Right, we've actually, the hard drive hasn't spun up, but we have got 5 volts now on that line. So I'll just switch off. So it did indeed. I don't know why the hard drive didn't spin up unless this one's a duffer. Could be a duff drive. It was out of a box that I have written on dead drives. So let's try the other line. This should be the 12 volts line, and let's see if we've got anything coming off on there. But we did actually, the hard drive. Oh crap! I just managed to pull the connector out then by pressing the probe in too far. Those are good power connectors, not. Now I've reseated it. Right, so gently push the connector in. Right, and let's try it again. Hopefully we should get something close to 12 volts on there. And indeed we do. Right, 12 volts. So, it does look like, well, our 12 volt and our 5 volt rail on the power supply seem to be okay. Let's try some of the other voltages we should have coming off the AT connector. So we'll get a ground. This is a bit harder to do because we've got to go on the back of the connectors to get the And we'll try this purple wire here, which I think is one of the minus voltages. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that's -5, and we've got -5. Now I think this next one should, these next three, sorry, should be +5. So let's try this. And indeed, that's +5. It's a tiny bit high at 5.3, but there isn't a lot of load on the circuit yet, on the power supply yet. I should be able to leave, no, in fact, just to be on the safe side, just in case there is the split ground and they come from different places, let's try on this side, and we'll try, this should be another minus voltage, I think. I'm not sure about these next three, what they are, but right, I've got a -12 there, and all we're left with is an orange and a white. Let's see what's on these. We've got a 12 there, so we've just got this white left, which I'm not sure what we've got on, but, and that might be another ground because I can't see anything there. In fact, if we've got that there connected to there, if power's off, if we go across the continuity, well, go across onto the resistance range, nothing. There doesn't seem to be anything there. So I'm not sure what the white wire is for, but everything else looks good. Didn't spin the hard drive up, but that could just be that this is a let's try this old Rodine. If nothing else, you should be able to hear the thing. It should make a right racket. Or it's shorted and blows everything up. We never know, do we? Let's give it a quick try anyway. Well, I heard the hard drive initially try to spin, but I think it's frozen. This isn't anything to do with this computer. It's another one that I'll just keep about. It's literally a scrap drive, but I thought it might be alright for spinning up, obviously, if it doesn't want to. But this looks like it's a definite possibility. Nothing's gone bang. It's not let any smoke out. All the voltages that we've checked seem to be within spec of where they should be. So I think we've actually got a power supply that we can at least do some initial power on tests of the main board and see. Let's try and get this back together. Yeah, you've designed this well, Olivetti. Well done. You have to. There we go. That one's in. Did you do the same with this one? I've literally put a bit of heat shrink over the wires and then made like a funny cutout in the metalwork that you might slip it through and then like spread it out, and that's their idea of strain relief for the power wires coming out of the power supply. Bloody hell. And trying to get that back in there. It's like, there we go. It's gone in. That's not a nice. That's not a nice design. I mean, everyone else just either. I mean, most just have a cutout and then a couple of cable ties on the back to stop it pulling through. Or on some of the older ones, they used to use quite a big, decent, chunky grommet like that for all the wires to come through. Not in this case. Well, better switch. Oh, just realised I haven't actually connected the fan back up. Let's connect the fan back up and we'll give it a final spin up and see what it see whether the fan actually makes a right racket or not. Interesting that the fan seems to have its own little controller board. I very much doubt it's a variable speed fan, but it does look like the fan has its own little its own little controller board. Let's give that a try. Oh, of course it's not, because I've not got it plugged in. And it probably needs, we'll connect that hard drive as a dummy load again, and we'll just see if the fan spins up and see if it's too noisy. It's a little bit noisy, but it's not horrendous. I've heard far worse. It'll certainly do for initial testing anyway, put it that way. So what are we going to do about that corrosion on there? I wonder if we just give it a quick brush down for now. It's going to need a lot of work, this. Gadget likes doing metal work like this. I've seen him bring some really rusty stuff back to life. But this one's, this is pretty damn bad. If I can just get all the flaky stuff off for now. So you got the really flaky rust, just so it doesn't really go into the workings of the power supply, because obviously all this rust is conductive. You don't really want it on the inside of your power supply. Let's try the brush, see if we can get some of it out with that. But I think it is going to be a case of spending a long time with that little wire brush like that. I've got another one here, a slightly harder one somewhere. Where's my slightly harder one gone? But I've got three of them. I've got this one that's like a brass tip. I've got a little one that's got fiberglass on it, which is I use for PCBs, and I've even got one that's got little steel bristles on it, which would probably be really good for getting this lot off. I might even get some Q rust and go over all this with Q rust just to kill. I think I'm actually going to have to do that with the case. The case is far worse in places than this is. So yeah, I think I'm actually, let's get that off my table. I think I'm probably going to order some Q rust, and that's helped. Even just that little bit of a brush out now. You know, it's a lot better than it was. You can see how bad it is down there, but that has helped a little bit. Even just doing that quick brush down like that. So yeah. The good news is, though, I don't think this power supply is a basket case. I think we actually have something we can. I think we've got something we can work with, at least going ahead with the project. The next thing, and probably the next video that I do on this, is that right? Does that just snap together? That seems lined up there. That's it does, yeah, that just snaps on. So it's 2 screws to get into the to get the case of this power supply open, and then the rest just hinges together. It locks together with 2 tabs at the top there. And these 2 screws, and that's literally it. That's all that holds this. That's all that holds the power supply together. I think I might push that down a bit far. It's not quite lining up, that screw. There we go. Yeah, I just pushed it down slightly too far. Then let's get that back in there. So excellent. We have the first part of the puzzle's sorted. I'll put that to one side. I'm not going to install that back in the case of the computer, because I suppose the next thing we're going to do is get the motherboard out of this. This is going to probably in the next video on this project. Well, this it's like a pre-project before the main project, which is actually going to be making this computer great again. But yeah, the next thing in this little series is going to be, we'll pull the motherboard out of here. We'll have a proper assessment of that motherboard. We'll clean some of the crud off it, perhaps get them batteries off it, and then seeing we've got a working power supply, or at least a seemingly working power supply, and it does take the standard VGA, so we can connect it up to my monitor here. We can actually see whether we've got any life in that motherboard. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Hope you enjoyed that little update on this project. So thanks for watching and goodbye.